Welcome to this Elevate Your Operating System meditation. In this meditation, you will practice shifting your foundational experience of yourself into a higher frequency. This is a part of the evolution of awareness and consciousness that is currently underway in this reality. Another way to think of this is as elevating your operating system, which will allow you to have a new experience of yourself and the reality. As you go about your life, you engage in daily activities, including decisions, concepts, behaviors, thoughts, and emotions that arise from your current fundamental sense of yourself. These patterns are mostly automatic to you. They are based in your old operating system. You can also think of this sense of yourself as a level of awareness or consciousness based in a certain frequency. Your current operating system is almost exclusively based in separation consciousness. Separation consciousness assumes that material reality is all that there is. There's nothing inherently wrong with this. Separation consciousness has been an interesting experiment. However, operating from this sense of yourself results in much frustration, suffering, and repetitive patterns, mainly because it is heavily weighted towards experiencing reality through the intellect's understandings. The intellect is also fine. It is a piece of who you are. But when you filter all of your experiences through it, experience becomes quite limited and repetitive, and you end up with an obstructed view of yourself and the reality. You reduce yourself and what you encounter in the reality to concepts. And concept is very limiting. Most beings in this reality feel the limitations inherent in experiencing life in this way. And that is why members of this reality, as a collective, have requested a shift in the reality, which is underway now. However, because most beings here are still operating from the old operating system based in assumptions that arise from separation consciousness, so far, even though they may sense the shift and their desire for the shift on some level, they mostly still hold a conceptual, intellectual experience of the shift. It is from this place of understanding that you hear people, or even yourself, say things like, "We better get our act together soon," or "People need to evolve." If you take a second to really feel into the energy of these statements, you'll likely sense a tone of admonishment, a parental tone. This tone reflects an intellectual understanding of the shift. But an intellectual understanding does very little to get you closer to actually shifting into a new frequency, a new experience in consciousness. Intellect thinks that this kind of shift happens through willpower, force, yearning, and effort, which are actually experiences that only arise in separation consciousness. Real shift comes from knowing and experiencing yourself beyond the ego, beyond the intellect, and beyond separation consciousness. This is a shift to a perspective that encompasses a magnitude and a multitude of new experiences relating to the way that you actually exist. The shift to a new way of being and experiencing the world, the shift to a new operating system, comes from a shift from knowing yourself as a being separate from everything else, as if material reality is all that there is, to experiencing the true nature of who and what you are, an eternal, dynamic experience in consciousness. The experience you have from a place of clear awareness is much, much different from what you experience from a place of separation or intellectual understanding. This shift is often alluded to as a dropping into present moment awareness, because the experiences that are available to you in any given moment are infinitely new. When your perspective has shifted to a new way of knowing yourself, you realize that as a piece of consciousness, as a piece of source, just like the experiences available in every moment, you are dynamic. You are constantly in motion. You are eternal. The experiences you have are endlessly interesting, evolving, and amazing. There is no need to have a concrete concept of who you are that you can repetitively refer back to. You don't know what the next instant will bring, but you know it will be interesting and enjoyable. You get to enjoy the unfolding of you as an experience in every single now. And all of this feels very safe because you are also aware of your eternal nature. So, as you practice this meditation, you will be practicing how to allow those higher functioning parts of yourself, which come from a different vantage point, to be your new fundamental operating system. This will change everything as you move your awareness to the new frequency. It will change your sense of reality, your sense of yourself, your ability to sense what is behind the veil, and even the senses that are available to you. This sense of self is naturally flowing, loving, kind, and connected. It has a much more accurate understanding of the way that things really are, and this changes how you operate in the world. With this meditation, you are laying the groundwork for a permanent switch to an elevated operating system. Keep in mind, with a permanent switch, the change can be instantaneous, or it can start with a kind of flirting with the new frequency. Either way, know that the final switch is a rush of revelation as you realize something you had little to no awareness of before. To get a sense of this, think of a time in your life when you didn't understand something, like a mathematical process or something someone was trying to communicate to you. You likely went from a state of not being able to understand or see at all to a sudden new awareness. You might have even said, "Oh." You can think of this like a match going from being unlit to lit instantaneously. Recall that rush of relief, a feeling of freedom mixed with a little bit of bewilderment in becoming aware of something you had zero awareness of just a few seconds before. Recall how over time that realization likely became self-evident to you. That is what you're aiming for with the change in operating systems and the shifting from one frequency to another frequency. Much like a train moving from one track to another completely different track that does not cross the old track. The new track may have some similarities to the old track, but it is headed in a completely different direction. It may be that you experience this kind of full shift in this practice today. Or it could be with this meditation, you are just dipping your toe in the waters of your elevated operating system in preparation for the switch. Trust that either way is perfect, exactly what your soul has planned. But know that the switch occurs exactly like this in the end, because you are moving from one base frequency to another elevated frequency. Before we get started, be sure you are doing this meditation in a space in which you feel safe and in which you will be free from interruption. Pause this recording if you need to get into that type of space for the meditation. And now, close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths. If you notice any parts of yourself that have been scattered today, call those parts back. Ask that your attentional resources return to your center. Don't wrestle with or try to control anything. Just make the request and allow whatever is going to happen to happen. Next, bring your supports in spirit into your awareness. These are the supports that live in the reality beyond this reality. You may think of them as your guides, your angels, wise beings with whom you have a connection, or loved ones who exist outside of space and time. Ask them to assist you with this practice today. Call them in from the sky above, from the earth below, from the air around, and from the fire within. Sense these supports coming in now. Ask these supports to now set the tone for this meditation by clearing and establishing boundaries for your safe space. As you make this request, you hear a sound similar to a match being struck, and simultaneously in your mind's eye, you see you and your meditation space enveloped in and aligned with light, a light that is of a higher frequency that lifts both you and your space above any interference. And now, open. Open your inner senses. Open your extra senses. Open to your safe space. Notice this is where and when you are. Now, set the intention that you'd like to elevate your operating system. Do this briefly and let it go. Observe what happens. You may start to feel a loosening in your sense of yourself. You might start to sense a little separation from your intellect. You may even be able to observe the intellect as an automatic process within you instead of an all-encompassing sense of who you are. Open to this process. As this starts to occur, notice that the part of you that can observe the intellect also is the part of you that holds senses and experiences of yourself beyond the intellect. Allow this. Don't worry about naming or holding on to anything. Those are actions of the intellect. Just allow the experience. As you allow this experience, you start to realize that these other experiences outside of the intellect are also you. In fact, you may start to realize that these experiences are more truly you than what your intellect has presented as you. Allow these other experiences of yourself to continue to come more fully into your awareness. Now, gently, wonder what it would be like if you walked around on a daily basis with these other experiences as your foundational sense of yourself, as your new operating system. Don't force this, just gently consider this question and see what happens. Now, as a part of this shift, let's ground these experiences associated with an elevated operating system into your base frequency. Let's do this by grounding through your upper chakras. Grounding through the upper chakras is not the same as grounding through the lower chakras. Set the intention to ground through your upper chakras, and then step back and again observe what happens. You may notice a sense of opening around your upper chakras as this process continues. The energy will likely feel much lighter and bubblier than what you're used to, free and in motion. It may feel like a kind of window or bubble opening around your upper chakras that feels more open and free. Notice how allowing yourself to do this expands your awareness. This sense of expanded awareness is the changing of operating systems in action. Open fully to this experience. Now ask that you be given an image or a word or a phrase that can instantly allow the expanded awareness of your elevated operating system. There are a number of things that might come to mind for you: a pink lotus, a white feather, a meaningful word or phrase. If nothing comes instantly, don't worry too much. Know that it will drop into your awareness in due time. This will be your shortcut or key that you can use going forward to re-establish your connection through your upper chakras into your elevated operating system. Now set the intention that you'd like to learn how to have this way of being be your normal, everyday way of being in the reality. Once you've set the intention, just let it go. Know and trust that change will continue as you go forward. You are a dynamic being after all. Be patient with yourself. If you notice impatience about shifting to an elevated operating system, try laughing about it, because it is a sign that your intellect has sneaked up on you and commandeered your experience, at least temporarily, once again. Eventually, your old operating system will be expanded and replaced by a new one that is founded in the clear awareness of who and what you really are, and that will change everything. As you move forward, the most effective aspect to practice is to notice the difference between the intellect and these other experiences you've connected with today. The pace of change is unimportant. You are on the trajectory you wish to be on, and it's okay if you find yourself slipping into your old operating system out of habit. It's also okay if this doesn't happen. If it does happen, and you noticed that it's happened, re-establish the connection through your upper chakras. If you'd like, call to mind the shortcut or key you were given to connect to that process. Use that key and take a moment to open to your other experiences. Also, remember that you don't make this shift through the intellect's tools like force or struggle. That's the old track. The shift happens through your allowance of the revelation of the rest of who and what you are into your awareness. And this happens on its own schedule and at its own pace. For now, fully step back into your physicality. Do you feel lighter somehow? Are you developing a more expanded sense of yourself? Take this with you as you go about your day. Thank your supports and release them. Wiggle your fingers and toes, and take a few deep breaths. Feel free to practice this meditation as much as you'd like, as long as you are enjoying it and finding it useful. It was a pleasure to step into this space with you today. Thank you for your practice.